Hi everyone, my name is Nina. Today we have Professor Dr. Jayakumar Gurusamy, Dean of the Faculty of Medicine from Manipal University College Malaysia, who will be sharing with us about the futures of doctor in Malaysia. So before we begin, just a quick background about our esteemed speaker today. Professor Dr. Jayakumar graduated from Kasturba Medical College and is a proud alumnus of Manipal. He completed his Master of Medicine in Occupational Medicine at National University of Singapore under an ASEAN Graduate Scholarship Program. Dr. Jayakumar is a Fellow of the Royal College of Physicians of Ireland and Fellow of the Faculty of Occupational Medicine RCPI. He is currently the Dean of Faculty of Medicine at MUCM. Hi, Professor. It's so good to have you here today.
Hi, good morning. Nice to have you, Nina.
Yes.
Thank
How are
you.
you doing? How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. I'm good. I hope everything is good with you.
Yes, it's perfectly good on my end. Perhaps we can just get started. Prof, you've been in the medical field for years, in both the medical line and academia. What prompted you to pursue this pathway?
Right. Nina, that's a very interesting question. I mean, looking back at my younger age, I was always very fascinated with hospitals and the workings of hospitals. And I can vividly remember following my parents to hospitals, and to walk around the wards in the corridors of Hospital Malacca. And I was always very fascinated with the workings of body and how doctors just talk to patients and get things going for patients in the way of treating them and managing. So that's how I got into medicine, and my interest has been from the young.
I see. Can you share with us, what the pathway is like from SPM to becoming a doctor and specialist? Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about how you end up becoming in the field.
Right. Okay. Basically, you have different modes. If you are sitting a student who sits with SPM, once they complete the SPM, they either take the government route of going through the STPM, which is a 2-year program, or they have the A levels. And many students actually pursue the foundation route, foundation in science route, that are provided by many universities, including by Manipal, which is more specific. Because what I mean by specific, like the foundation in Manipal, it is more inclined towards medicine, so it's more specific. And you have other programs like MAFI and so on. So once they complete, there are certain criterias, academic criterias that we look for, and that's mandated by regulators like Malaysian Medical Council. And one of the things is you need to do well in your SPM results or equivalent, in your physics, chemistry, biology, and so on. So SPM, and you need to get a minimum CGPA in your science subjects, uh, whether it is a foundation or STPM. You need to obtain the minimum of at least CGPA of 3, right? So that is basically the academic curriculum, or rather the academic criteria. But what most universities, including Manipal, we do is also we have an interview with the students,
Right.
because we recognize, one is having academic qualification, but we also need to have the aptitude, you need to have the qualities, other qualities, right? Like caring and so on. So that is an interview process to get into
Right.
medical school.
I see. All right. You did mention in the interview, and like there are certain requirements to get into medical school, like you said, getting a good streak of A's, or getting the right CGPA. When it comes to interview, can you share a little bit what goes on and what sort of questions do the board would ask students when it comes to medical school?
Understand. One of the things about interview is also, when we send out the application form, we have what we call a reflective writing. So we give you certain topics, you write on that. So to understand about your mindset, what do you understand and how do you reflect on matters? That's looking at your thinking process. During the interview, one of the things we also look is, other than your academic criteria, are you involved in any activities? Example, community work in schools or after school. Are you involved in sports activity, cultural activity, dancing, traditional, whatever things? Because to be a doctor, I think we are looking at holistic, looking at
Right.
wholesome, someone who have academic and who have other qualities. Because unlike engineers, we are dealing with humans. You need that human touch, you need the touch to communicate. So that's basically how we engage with students, and to see the other aspects, because academic qualifications are very simple. We can see the grades in the paper, I mean, in the certificates, right? But when we talk to students, we see the other aspects that make good quality, to be a good quality doctor.
Right. All right. Okay. What about students who, they're academic inclined, they get good grades, they don't really participate in, like all these creative activities. How can they stand out in a medical interview as compared to students who actually have all these other activities?
Okay. I mean, these are some people are what some students are what we call the late bloomers in the context of, just some students in school, they tend to be quiet, but when they
Mm.
get into a university, they start changing, they start evolving, because you have a campus atmosphere.
Yep.
Especially in Manipal, we have a campus, so you start mingling with friends, you are involved, so you can have a change. It doesn't mean that you are quiet in a school setting, you are going to remain quiet.
Right.
And it also works in the other sense of academia, right? Some students don't really perform very well academically, but they tend to shine, right? So that there are two aspects to it. So we try to have a balance. We understand that not all students are at the same level, right?
Right.
So we try to have a balance of students.
Okay, perfect. All right. What are some of the good practices students can adopt during their medical school? Throughout their journey of, in the when they're studying. Perhaps you can share some secrets to surviving medical school.
Right. Okay. I think secrets are there for different students. I think looking at my personal experience and looking at students of being in academia for more than 2 decades, one thing is, I think, time management. Because professional courses, the curriculum is quite voluminous. You have lots of things to. So time management is very important. I mean, that's something that we stress to students. Personally, I think work-life balance. I always tell students, uh, you need to balance between studies and non-academic activities. Uh, just because you are in a university, and if you are playing football or you are involved in some traditional dancing or singing, don't leave that part of your life, because you need a work-life balance to have good outcome in your universities. And you need to have that empathy, because you are dealing with humans, you're dealing, we need to have that empathy and inquisitive mind, you know ask questions, be critical, challenge the lecturers, right? I think, because human body is not perfect, we differ, each of us differ. So it's a very complex situation, and critical mind takes us on a longer road, and we deal with people better.
I see. All right. Do all students who pursue medicine end up becoming doctors? Are there any other career alternative that they can utilize their medical degree?
Of course. Okay. Typically, I mean, traditionally, when we look at doctors, right, when they come out of medical school, there are two routes. As a student, I can be on a surgical route. That means I look at all the different surgical specialties, like heart surgeon. I want to be orthopedic. I want to be a gynecologist. They are the surgical route. Then we have what we call the non-surgical. I want to be a physician. I want to be a skin specialist. A non-surgical route. So that's one group of students. But you also have another group of students who come out of medical school and say, hey, I'm not interested to be in a clinical field. I want to be in the non-clinical field.
Right.
So we have the public health, which is important. We recognize public health, especially in the last 2 years. Public health has become the forefront. So that is the public health route. Then you have some students who say, no, I don't want to be in public health. I want to be in a research component. Right? You have. Then you have people who are in occupational medicine, example, right? They look at workforce. They work in companies. They work in industries, multinational companies looking at occupational health, occupational medicine. Then you have people who work in other aspects. You can be hospital directors. Many hospital directors, if you look in the government hospitals, and even they come out as leaders in managing hospitals. pharmaceutical companies, NGOs, World Health Organization, they go in that route. So it is not the traditional where you just want to be a surgeon, obstetrician, or eye surgeon. No, there are a lot of. It's just typically, even if you look at the law, I mean, you don't end up in the court. You can be out of the court.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's a whole spectrum of opportunities out there in the medical field.
I see. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof. There are many reports that there's an overflowing supply of doctors in Malaysia. Add on with the long wait times for housemanships. Is it still worth going to medicine nowadays? And like, are there too many doctors in Malaysia, Prof?
Okay. You have asked actually a very interesting question. Yes. I mean, if you're looking in the context of Malaysia, I think that the thoughts are there is maldistribution of
Okay.
doctors. What I mean by maldistribution, if you look in Klang Valleys, yes, everyone wants to get into Klang Valley. That's where they see the nightlife, you see the excitement, you perceive that there's excitement. So yes, there is. But if you look at other parts of Malaysia, if you look at East Malaysia, if you look at other parts, so we put this as maldistribution. And this is not just peculiar to Malaysia. Many parts of the world, it's very evident. There are shortage of doctors even in many hospitals in Malaysia, in the outskirts. Yeah, even in Australia, if you look similar. So uh, doctors are needed, but everyone is like, you have honey and all, everyone congregates in the cities, right? That's a maldistribution. So the demand for doctors are still there, but what is lacking, if you look in the national level, over the last 20 years, the number of new hospitals are lacking, clinics are lacking, government. So the healthcare system is still static, right? That's where you find there is a bottleneck. So the number of
I
doctors
didn't
are not too
understand
much,
that.
but what we have, there is a bottleneck in terms of facilities.
Right.
And we need to keep in mind the doctor's life doesn't stop at the age of, there's no retirement. You find
Yes.
many doctors working at 60, 70, and even in the universities. You have universities where even in Malaysia, 80 years old. I had a colleague who was 91 years old,
Wow.
uh, you know. So uh, it's just maldistribution, basically.
I see. Okay, I think that's pretty hopeful answers for students out there who are, like a bit unsure whether they should pursue the line. The issue of contract doctors made headline last year. Considering they're not getting permanent positions all the time, this is a huge concern for students intending to pursue the field. What are your thoughts about this?
Okay. Yes. Over the last few years, the situation has changed. Before I answer the question, I think one question I always pose, this commonly question that is posed to me, one question I actually pose to my friends or even students, I ask this question: how many countries do give permanent posts globally, right? In this part of the world, if you're looking, or even globally, Malaysia did that, Singapore does that, Brunei does that. But if you look at other countries, even in Australia, UK, US, in Europe, hardly any country assures you a permanent job.
Right.
Permanency, there's no such thing as permanent. It's become a very competitive world. It's become very merit based, right? But the good thing in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Brunei, what is assured is the government, under the Medical Act, which has been amended in 2017, the original Medical Act of 1971 assures doctors that we will provide you training for housemanship. That is assured in the act, and that the government is obliged, legally speaking, right? So, but the government does not assure you until you retire, that be this thing. But that is consistent. If you're looking at globally, that's what's happening, because no government, I think, if you're looking in a level-headed manner, can assure you permanent career opportunities. I think the situation is changing even in other fields. Permanency, it is very competitive world. If you are good, you remain. If you are needed, you remain. If not, there are vast opportunities out there in the private sector.
Right. All right. All right. I think, yeah, I think that is also, another calming notion for students who are also, wary about the contract doctors issue. Speaking of, moving forward with like your career in the later age, which medical specialties are in demand for students who are looking to, go deeper? Are there any medical specialties that are particularly competitive?
Okay. I mean, it's a very difficult to say whether surgeon is better, medicine is better, occupation medicine better, public health is better. It all basically comes down to what is the interest of the student or person who graduates, right?
Yes.
Certain fields are more I mean, I always tell students, unlike when I was in medical school, these days there are many specialties out there, right? New specialties. Look out at new opportunities, look out at new specialties. Example, you have palliative care, you have rehabilitation medicine, right? They are new fields, right? And there are much oncology, caring of, I mean, cancer patients, right? There's so much of shortage in this position. So look out of that. But if everyone were to say that, okay, I want to be a surgeon, of course it's going to be very competitive because
Yes.
the market is very saturated. Everyone wants to be a gynecologist, the market is saturated. So we need to look at beyond, the horizon, looking beyond the horizon, looking at other opportunities. And there are many new um, specialties out there. Emergency medicine. When I was in med school, there was no such thing as emergency medicine. I never heard in Malaysia, right? You have rehabilitation physicians, oncology. Um, uh, you have blood transfusion specialists, right? So they are, and the demand is huge, right? Public health, occupation medicine. So the demand is huge. So you need to explore beyond the normal norms of thinking. I just want to be a surgeon. I need to be a physician or gynecologist.
Mm. All right. Okay. Let's talk about something that I think most students would want to know, even parents. Let's talk about salary. How much do doctors and medical specialists really make, private or public sector?
You're looking in the context of doctors or specialists.
Let's start with doctors first.
Okay. Okay, as I said, in Malaysia, we assure you the country, we are fortunate, we are one of the few countries in the world, we assure you of housemanship training and first few years of training. That's assured by law, by the Medical Act of 2017. Perhaps when they started as a house officer, housemanship, they will start in the range of 4 to 5,000 ringgit. Why I'm giving a range, it depends on number of calls a doctor does, right?
Right.
And they move on. So if a doctor stays in the government practice, they keep moving up the ladder, right? And when they start specializing, they may start from 5,000, 4,000, 5,000. They move up the ladder 7, 8, 9, 10. And when they are specialists, they may move up the grade of 18, 20, and it probably might go up, to a scale of JUSA B, JUSA A of
Mm,
government scheme, you might reach 30. Of course, the higher the grades, there are less people, right?
right.
In the private sector, it's all supply and demand. How much a person is needed, it can vary between 30,000, 40,000 to 100,000 a person. And how much a person is working, because if you're looking at gynecologist who's going to work, where cases are you're dealing even in the middle of the night, you lose your sleep, you work, of course your earning capacity is higher, right?
Mm,
It can go up to 70, 80, 90, 100. It depends. I mean, sky is the limit. But at the end of the day, you want to have a work-life balance. Then someone says, okay, I want to work less. So there is a range, actually.
all right. Okay. Thanks so much, Prof. Let's discuss technology. It's advancing rapidly these days, and we have AI systems being developed to interpret X-rays and MRIs. Like how radiologists would have done that. How does technology impact doctors and the medical specialty? Will this advancement reduce the need for medical professionals?
Okay. Okay, if you look at artificial intelligence and human intelligence, I mean, we say human intelligence, God create human intelligence. I mean, humans, right? Artificial intelligence is created by man. So
Yes.
God created man, man created artificial. I mean, the good thing about human intelligence is we can think, we have memory, we can understand, we can learn, we can solve problems. Artificial intelligence, they do that by providing data, right? You provide the data, they solve the problem, right? So how I look at when we look at artificial intelligence, they are a great asset. We recognize that. So that's why even in Manipal, we are including, soon we are going to have options for students to do artificial intelligence as a topic on
Mm.
optional basis, right? They complement us as doctors. They're going to complement us. I don't see artificial intelligence taking over the role. But as much as we say that, we cannot be static,
Right.
right? We have to go beyond artificial intelligence. We have to move away from the norm, right? We have to think, because artificial intelligence is going to take some amount of our place that we are doing now,
Right.
but that will translate us to move ahead and solving other issues. So
Yes.
it is going to complement us, and the quality of care is going to be better. So that's how it's going to do.
All
It's not
right.
going to be a replacement.
Okay. All right. What do you think some of the skills, soft or practical, medical professionals need in order to keep up with times in the future?
Okay, very, very pertinent question, because I always tell students, and even as a practitioner, I realize grades are required to get into medical school, yes, but grades, high grades, do not translate to one being great doctors, right? Of course, it's also inverse. Doesn't mean a student who is high grade do not make good doctors, but in the same manner, a student who is mediocre doesn't necessarily mean make poor doctors. What is important is, as I reiterate, is we are dealing with humans. So someone who listens, many of the times patients, they want someone to listen. They do not, when they go and see a doctor, they want someone to listen, right? So we need someone who can listen, to be, to empathize with these patients, right? And that plays a very important person. Communication skills, how do we communicate with patients, right? These are very core fundamental values, and that's why sometimes you find, occasionally we'll read in the media some complaints about doctors, about healthcare professionals, because communication, because when we do a situational analysis, we go into a root cause of what was the issue. By and large, we realize it is a communication, and that also translates even in medical legal suits against healthcare professionals.
Right.
So communication is important, empathy is important, caring, very important quality. One may have the best of grades, and if they don't have these three qualities, uh, I think we may run into problems when we deal with patients, because we are dealing with patients who are very vulnerable. They are not normal. They are sick, and when we are sick, we ourselves become irritable, and we
Yes.
expect some amount of pampering and some amount of care.
Yes. Okay. In terms of making sure that students are well-rounded, you talked about the soft skills. What can universities do to ensure that their medical graduates are well prepared? And on this hand, what does MUCM do to prepare their students for a successful career in medicine?
Right. Okay. One of the unique thing about MUCM is, if someone comes to our Malacca campus, or even to our facility in Mua, we have another facility in Mua. It is, we don't have high-rise building, right? We have only one particular building that's high. It's kind of like a resort concept, and we have a very campus environment here. What I mean by campus environment is, we always like to enrich students with activities.
Okay.
Academic, of course, that is a core, but a lots of extracurricular activities, right? That will entail having sporting activities, having debates, having cultural shows, and it's all at one site. So you have the campus, you have the accommodation, you have the sporting facilities within the campus, and it's also similar in our facility in Mua. Why are we doing this? Because, as I said, we are looking at students who are holistic, right? We don't want someone who's just a bookworm, comes out and can't communicate, and that is something very, very important. And we are proud that we we take this in good spirit, and we encourage, and many of our students enjoy that pathway in Manipal.
Okay. All right, thank you so much, Prof. So we're almost reaching the end of our session. Just a quick one, Prof. What advice would you give to students who are looking to pursue this field?
Okay. One of the things is, of course, you must have passion. I think in whatever that course that you are doing, be it medicine, you want to be a journalist, you want to be engineering, you must have that passion. If you don't have the passion, it can be an issue, because keep in mind we work 30% of our life we spend working, right? I mean, if you look in a day or our life, so you need to have that passion. Of course, grades play an important role, but grades does not is not the whole of everything to be a good doctor. It plays an important role. Passion, grades, listening skills, communication skills, being out, having that caring attitude, as I mentioned earlier, very important. And during a medical school, time management, because we all recognize, even a 5-year-old kid says, I don't have time. A 50-year-old man says, I don't, or lady says, I don't have time. We need to manage time well. Time management is very crucial, right? But one thing is support system. We need, and that's something in a campus. Students have the support system, and the immediate support system are your friends.
Right.
The best of my friends are friends who graduated from medical school with me, and because they went through thick and
Yes.
thin through campus, and I think that holds true for many. So support system, passion and qualities make a big role in producing good doctors.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Prof. So that's the end of our interview. And thank you, Prof. Jayakumar, for your time and providing us with helpful insights and perspective on the medical profession. We hope that our audience has gained some valuable information from this session. Prof, it's an honor to have you on board with us. I'm sure students are, I think I have learned quite a lot from this session itself. So I'm pretty sure students who are pursuing medicine are going to gain a lot from this.
Right.
All right. Thank you
Right.
so much
Thank
and
you.
have a good day, Professor.
Right. Thank you very much. The pleasure is mine. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and have a wonderful day and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Bye bye.